The nativist wave that swept through the United States and much of Europe is now sweeping Brazil, the biggest, most powerful country in Latin America, where the far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro, dubbed the Trump of the tropics, was declared the overwhelming winner of yesterday's presidential election. President Trump congratulated Bolsonaro and promised that they would work well together. Until recently, Bolsonaro was thought to be a fringe extremist, best known for his racist, misogynistic, and homophobic comments. But with Brazil seemingly caught in a cycle of high crime, high unemployment, and massive government corruption, Bolsonaro rose to the top by pledging to change the destiny of Brazil.
As a defender of freedom, I will lead a government that upholds and protects the rights of the citizens who follow their duties and respect the laws. The laws are for everyone. This is how it will be during our constitutional and democratic government.
Now, Celso Amorim served as foreign minister for several Brazilian governments, and he joins me now from Rio de Janeiro. Minister Amorim, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Talking to you again. I'm very glad.
It's good to talk to you. Now, let's be clear. You have worked for the opposition party, the Workers' Party, in the past, and now this party has taken over. What do you attribute this to? And do you admit that the failings of the Workers' Party have led to a complete pendulum swing the other way?
Well, I don't think we have a problem with the candidate of the Workers' Party. I think the candidate was a good candidate. He's a professor. He's a very good man. I think the question is that there was some sort of discrediting of politics in general. And so this military man who is trying to bring back some of the generals back to power, profited from this bad opinion that the people have about politics in general. So I think he said just, we are going to do away with all these old things. So that's the same way as other populist leaders did, including, I think he has the advice of Steve Bannon also.
Does he? I hadn't realized that was one of his advisors. But you know, look, let's be frank. There's always ground for these kinds of reactions, these kinds of political reactions. I mean, your most famous, most successful democratic president was Lula da Silva, who did so much for the people of Brazil and brought many, many millions out of poverty. And yet he's now in jail because of a corruption conviction. So there's a problem with the Workers' Party. What I want to know from you is, what do you think will the next year or 6 months look like? I mean, you even saw Bolsonaro there coming to vote in protection and body armor.
Well, I'm very worried about what can happen in the next 6 months. Of course, Bolsonaro was now elected, although there are doubts about the use of technological means, especially WhatsApp, influencing opinion of people who are very vulnerable to this kind of messages, which is not rational, it's just emotional. But of course, you're right. I mean, you're pointing to the paradox that the most popular politician in Brazil is in jail on very fragile accusations. And it's not only my opinion, it's the opinion of the New York Times, of Le Monde, and all of that. Well, we don't know what will happen. We know that he has been preaching violence. He has been insisting very much on including distributing weapons. We will have something similar to what happened in the United States, which was not the case in Brazil. We have other kinds of violence, but not this kind of violence like mass shooting, and we may have. So we don't know yet, because this is too early. If we're going to base our opinion on what he has said in the campaign and all along his life, we have many reasons to be worried. You know, this is a very strange combination, if you allow me, a very strange combination of a right-wing, extreme right-wing politician, which is at the same time an ultra-new-liberal in economics. I never saw this combination work, so we are very worried at how it will go.
Let me just explain you saying about the guns and things. On his campaign, he was saying everybody should be armed. And he also said really quite terrible things about a certain woman and women in general, about the gay community. He's also talked about, and people in the environmental community are very worried. Let me just read you what the Amazon Watch program director has said to CNN. Bolsonaro's reckless plans to industrialize the Amazon in concert with Brazilian and international agribusiness and mining sectors will bring untold destruction to the planet's largest rainforest and the communities who call it home, and spell disaster for the global climate. Do you think that he can drive those policies through?
Well, I think many things that he has been saying are very contradictory to one another. I think really there is a danger because he has a very strong support by agribusiness. Mind you, during Lula's government, agribusiness in Brazil grew very much, but without detriment, or at least without much detriment to the environment, and also without detriment to the small farmers. And what we see now is an opposition, a conflicting viewpoints of view, and I think a total neglect for environmental and also indigenous people's rights. And the same applies to Afro descendants. The same applies to people, homosexuals. So we never had something similar in Brazil, even during the military dictatorship, in which torture was practiced, but it was not praised. It was not admitted publicly. And Bolsonaro not only admitted, but said that maybe instead of just torturing, the military government should have killed more people. So I don't know. I mean, if all these things stand, or if all is now over and different policies will be taken. But we are very worried, and also worried with Latin America, because we don't know. We have always worked for peace and dialogue in Latin America. Brazil has 10 borders with 10 different countries. So it's very dangerous if you have someone with aggressive policies. We cannot say yet. I don't want to prejudge what will happen, but we are really very concerned.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you were foreign minister, how you think this is going to spread in Latin America, and also whether you think that Bolsonaro will ditch his toxic rhetoric, as he said he wants to be a unifier. But I guess what I want to ask you to end with, he has been dubbed the Trump of the tropics. How do you see Brazil's new relationship with the United States under a President Bolsonaro and a President Trump?
Well, he has already paid his respects to the American flag, which raised many eyebrows in Brazil, because that's not what you expect from a military, much less from a candidate for the presidency. But having said that, on the other hand, you have to think that, for instance, President Lula, I was foreign minister at the time, had a very good relation, including with President Bush, although having different views, because he was a man of dialogue. And that's not what I see in Bolsonaro. So the same way that he says that he loves the United States and he will do things, in practice we don't know where it will get. And we can get also involved in difficult problems in Latin America because of, let us say, this lack of empathy towards other candidates and towards other countries. For instance, Mercosur has been the basis for South American integration, and his probable Minister of Finance has said already that Mercosur will not be a priority. So I think it's very dangerous in many respects. But of course, what I'm concerned most of all is with the human rights and freedom of speech, because these are the things that Brazil got accustomed, not only with Lula, but also with Cardoso, who was a, let us say, more right-of-center politician. But we had 20 years or even more of experiencing democracy, and now we are maybe back to authoritarian regime with some fascist overtones. I hope it doesn't materialize, but, you know, it's only a hope. I mean, if I will base on facts or on what was said until now, I have many reasons to be worried. I mean, I dealt with foreign policy. I mean, our relations with Africans, with Arab countries, all that is being thrown away. The creation of the BRICS, which is very important for the world balance. So,
yeah, the developing country economies, yeah. Okay, Celso Amorim, thank you so much, former foreign minister, giving us a state of play of what's potentially at stake in Brazil after Sunday's elections. So, as far-right